easy. So I'm Kira Andersen. Got a kind of wild story. My husband got stage 4 pancreatic cancer in October of 21. Yeah, and we had a 4, 2, and an 11-month-old at the time. So came out of nowhere. He battled for 17 months. We were able to get him a treatment after 5 months that had never been in humans before. So it gave him a whole extra year of life. He passed away last April. Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, it was tragic. It was a hurricane, but the good news is we've started a fund and been able to raise money and awareness for pancreatic cancer research because we're hoping to get the treatment that he got in his. We got him into other patients, and so I really feel called to spread the awareness and really just help people understand how critical money for cancer research really is. And so started a Kyle Andersen Fund, and we've raised over $1 million. My goal is $3 million initially to be able to fund a phase 1 study, because that's about how much it costs to fund a phase 1 study. So, I'm a health and wellness coach by trade, and stumbled across Corey, a producer of a show I'm on, asked me to be on Corey's mental podcast, and then he suggested I start my own podcast. So I just launched my podcast, Yes We Can, this week. So maybe I could have you on my podcast.
Yeah, I think that's great. Soon. It's working out perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a little bit about me. Tell me about you, who you are.
Our stories are similar.
Okay.
So my name is Amy Post. I have a podcast called Advocacy and Hope. Launched it last fall.
Amazing.
Totally new journey for me. I've been in outside medical sales for 20 some years. And just really had a moment of surrender about 2 years ago. Just a burning inside of me to do something different. There had to be more. Even though I did enjoy what I was currently doing, there was nothing wrong with it. The money was great.
Yeah.
Benefits were great. There was just something else. And so I felt like I needed to write a book. But I needed to write a book to heal myself, because when my daughter was 3 years old, she was diagnosed with malignant liver cancer and a rare genetic cancer gene that will bring 2 more cancers. So she had a full liver transplant, 6 rounds of chemotherapy, 70-some procedures within the first year under anesthesia. We almost had to have another liver transplant, and she almost didn't make it.
Oh my goodness.
I was running 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction, chasing something that I knew really wasn't right. There were right things about it, but that's when we found functional medicine, alternative, holistic, and this just new way of really thinking about things. We were very healthy anyway. We just needed to figure out how to think about certain things differently. That spun into Mind Frame and everything about getting your body healthy from the inside out.
Amazing.
That was great. We finally got out of the hospital about 4 years later, and I then kind of crashed and burned. Isolation, depression, but no one would have ever known. I was at the top of my company, President's Club. No one would have known. And I think that I lived in silence for a really long time until a moment where God just took me to my knees, just took me to a place of surrender. So I wrote the book, Out of the Gray into the Light.
Amazing.
It just launched May 7th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But it's raw and real. It is. I'll take you on a roller coaster ride in my shoes of what we went through for so many years, and then what I went through. And hence, Out of the Gray into the Light is what I think was my purpose of just finding people that are or have been just in this gray in their life and hoping they can see the light. And that then launched a community. The podcast is called Advocacy and Hope, so the community, of course, had to be Advocacy and Hope on Fire. And so I really dig deep with people, and I'm creating small groups now of women who really want to dig even deeper, but maybe they just are in avoidance, or they don't know where to turn, they're fearful, maybe they want a career change, maybe they're just stuck. And so we even show them things that they didn't know they needed. And the whole group is what I needed for so long. I just needed something different that I hadn't found yet. So I wanted to kind of create that safe, hopeful, area of gratitude and empowerment and tons of resources.
I love it. So incredible.
So that's really, it makes me want to get up every morning now. I want to do this versus
Yeah.
I didn't want to do my career. Now I'm
Right.
still 1 foot in medical sales and
Are
1
you?
foot out,
Okay.
but I found a better path.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Good for you. So I was in medical sales for 10 years as well.
Okay.
But I left when my husband and I got married and started having kids. So we do have similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
So interesting. So how's your daughter doing today?
She's good. We keep her as healthy as possible. We have a line that I have drawn in the sand between Western medicine and functional medicine. It's a very unusual, blurred world. So it takes a lot of courage and a lot of just consistency to try to, I think, keep your values and your hopes up. But she's great. We're in the second cancer. So she will have cancer between ages 13 and 17 again. And then the next cancer hits, so colon cancer hits between 13 and 17, and thyroid cancer hits right around age 46 or 47.
Wow.
But it's a very rare FAP genetic gene, so it's not studied. It's thrown in the trash can. Now it's studied in Europe, so I've tapped into different groups that study this.
Wow.
Yeah, just to see if we can figure out something. But we keep
course.
her diet, her mind frame very, very clear. I wholeheartedly believe that what you think, no matter it's positive or negative, it is what will happen to you.
Oh, absolutely.
No matter what.
I
So
100% agree.
we had to take her out of a lot of those situations to try to keep her healthier because it was very fearful. And I think that she's much healthier now because of the path that we've kind of chosen, and hence the advocacy. The whole book was about, advocating for her and myself and for others, because I saw many protocols that just weren't right. And I didn't want anybody else to go through what we had gone through. So now it's all about advocating for yourself. And how are you going to do that? And there is hope through all of this. And there's such a magical purpose through everything that we go through. And I just want to help people find that. But they have to be able to tell their story, because their story will unravel just this life that they didn't realize was right in front of them, because I think all the pain was just staying inside. And we don't like to talk about painful things.
Correct. Yeah.
We want to avoid it at all costs. You know?
And if we are vulnerable, what I've found is then other people can relate and say, actually, that happened to me, or even our stories are similar. And so it's the whole concept of we're not alone.
Right.
And there is hope, and we can do something. Something I learned through my husband's battle was you really do have to be your own advocate. You really have to. You cannot just take what one doctor says.
No.
You've got to do research. There are alternative options.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't know that. They
Correct.
just take one doctor's answer and say, the first doctor that saw my husband was like, he's not going to last more than 2 or 3 months. I'm sorry. And I was like, I'm not taking that. I refuse to accept that. And so luckily we got 17 months, but your story goes to show just how being a patient, an advocate for your daughter, an advocate for yourself, to whomever is watching or listening, it truly is important to keep asking questions. If you get a no, keep going somewhere else. There all are alternative options. Other parts of the world, absolutely. Things are happening.
They are.
So,
and I think for anybody who is in that situation too, you can be bullied very easily.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
we were through
And
the
shamed.
entire process. Don't rock the boat. Don't cause problems. Why are you asking questions? Why are you challenging these doctors? They're not going to treat our daughter if you continue to cause problems. And people will term it in a way that makes you very shameful, fearful. It's very intimidating. And I just turned my cheek and said, I won't stand for it.
Right.
And I think throughout the entire book, I wanted people to understand that I was a mess. I mean, we're all going through whatever we're going through. I didn't do it with grace.
Right.
There were moments I should have been thrown out of that hospital. I'm surprised I wasn't taken down a few times.
Right.
And your emotions get you and fear gets you. But if you can find a group of individuals to help hold you accountable and help you realize how to hold yourself accountable in a very healthy, very healthy way, because accountability can be, a little bit interesting when you talk about that. But finding those groups of people, I've been amazed with the individuals that I've spoken to that said they just tried all kinds of different things and just kind of swept all the feelings under the rug and moved on. That rug will get so tall and it will just open itself right up, and those emotions and feelings and everything will be right there waiting for you. And I think it's truly better to know how to handle that than to not know how to handle it.
Right.
It's coming whether you like it or not. And more challenges are probably going to land on your doorstep as well, to then put more pressure on your family, your finances, your personal, your well-being, your health.
Absolutely.
Your spiritual faith. It can all just come crumbling down. And
No question.
I don't know with your situation, but we were just stuck in the hospital. We were there for a month at a time, and we'd go home for about 24 hours and we'd be back again. And we did that for years.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
It is scary, and it's so unpredictable. And like you said, there's so much to it. People say that cancer puts a spotlight on your life, and that is absolutely true as far as your relationships, family, friends, and it does wreak havoc on your finances, your mental and spiritual and physical well-being. I mean, you want to talk about being anxious, depressed, not sleeping, and all while you have this huge hurricane happening in your life.
Yes.
And you can't even think straight. I can't imagine as a mother of a small child. I mean, I only know from an aspect of a spouse, but I mean, it's just, you're just kind of it's a blur, right? So
it is.
Something I really talk and try to help people understand is, 1 in 2 people will be affected by cancer in our lifetime. So there's a lot about life we cannot control. But what we can control is how we treat ourselves, our mind, our body, our spirit. Are we fueling it properly?
Yes.
Because we don't know where cancer comes from, right?
Nope.
All sorts of diseases are not, and maybe it's not even a terminal cancer diagnosis, but if we're mentally and spiritually and physically okay and have that foundation, when those things happen, we're able to handle it a little better.
Yes.
Right? Because it's life.
Yeah. And that's the community that I built. Do you want to be prepared when you see it coming? Or do you want to be prepared when you don't see it coming? Because it's coming.
Right.
Ours, we see it coming. We know the clinical data is there. We hope to beat it, perhaps, but I have to be honest with myself and know that if we don't beat it, we have to be prepared for it. And one thing that happened to us, it was less than 24 hours of being just kind of dumped off in the hospital, and I didn't have but the clothes on my back and my purse, and we were thrown in. And the next morning I walk over to the little coffee area at 5 a.m, and a gentleman was there, and I asked him, what are you in here for? It's like, like in prison or something, because that's what it felt like in those white walls
100%.
in that room. And he told me about his son, who was about my daughter's age, had been diagnosed with cancer, had been fine for a couple of years in remission, and they were back again. And he had brain cancer. He was 13.
My goodness.
My daughter's 13 right now.
Goodness.
And
I was
I
gonna
remember
ask how old she was.
Yeah, she was 3 when she was diagnosed. She's 13 now. And I remember him walking out of that room, and I just had tears running down my face. And I thought, I have to find something every single day to be grateful for. I have to count my blessings every single day, and gratitude will, and I was always a very grateful individual, always. Very polite, very gracious, but I realized in that moment that I was going to need it even more than anything else, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And of course I needed God as well. And I can say our faith was certainly wavering, because when I walked into the next meeting with our mentor, she kind of handed me this stack of like, here's your life, here's the FAP gene, here's everything you're going to go through. And she said, Amy, you need to be prepared. Children die, and 90% of couples separate.
Yep.
And I remember just my heart fell on the floor. And I remember at that moment, the bubble that I lived in just shattered.
Burst.
It just burst. It was gone.
I relate
It was
so
gone.
much to that metaphor.
I was like, it was like I was just naked standing there,
Yes.
so afraid, just
Stripped
crying.
down, absolutely, of anything you knew. your future.
Any control I ever felt that I could have, being
Absolutely.
healthy, eating well, being a good person, just everything. I thought, God, why did this happen?
Why us?
And I remember one of the physicians kind of leaned down and kind of got on my level, and he said, "You just have bad luck." And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to buckle up for this one. This one's going to be a wild ride.
They said the exact same thing to us. Kyle got the bad luck kind.
Oh my goodness. I think our stories are, oh my God.
There's a reason we're here together in this room. And Terry, you're here, not sure why, but absolutely, because we got the same thing.
Oh,
It's just bad luck. I'm like, interesting.
It was interesting that he had said that to us. Then we went through all of the genetic testing, and they said, she got it from you or your husband, and it doesn't skip generations, and that's where she got it. We tested negative. Our son was negative, we were negative, and they're sitting there looking at us, and I'm thinking back to that statement of you have bad luck, and your whole world, you just want to die.
Totally.
You just want to die. And for anybody that wants to literally read a riveting story and know that they're not alone, they can pick this one up, because I didn't leave much out. And I
I'm
just
gonna read it.
wanted people to know.
Out of the gray into the light.
Yeah. I mean, it is okay to be afraid. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay. You just have to ground yourself.
Yes.
You have to be able to look through different lenses with a different perspective. And granted, we don't all do that. You're in that moment of terrified, you're sleep deprived.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
You don't know what to believe, what not to believe. It's just a very difficult place to be.
It really is. Wow, what an inspiring story. I mean,
and yours as well. It's not easy going through this.
Oh, it's hell. I mean, I describe it as it was a hurricane. It was hell. I mean, you want to talk about mental fortitude, and I mean, it's indescribable. You cannot describe it unless you're in it. But that's the other point, is that we're not alone, and neither is anyone else who's reading your book or hearing about our stories. There are a lot of us out there. And a lot of us go through the same trials and tribulations and the same thoughts and feelings and depression. And I mean, I remember I got the flu right after Kyle was diagnosed. And this is going to be really vulnerable and maybe troubling to some. But I literally was like, okay, God, like, just take me. Like, maybe this is it. And it's a very selfish thing to think. But I was like, it's just so unbearable to be in that fight or flight mode and try to raise these children and keep my husband alive. And, of course, family, there's all these family dynamics.
Yes.
That can be
they're
helpful
wild.
or not. Yeah.
Exactly. If you're on one side or the other, it can be really difficult. And we don't all go through the same thing the same way. And I remember just wanting everybody to just go through what I was going through and feel how I felt. And they're not going to. We lived in the hospital, we lived a different life. So it was something that I don't think that they could understand. And I look back now, and I wouldn't want them to have been in my shoes.
Right.
At that moment, I just needed friends. I needed somebody.
Support, to be there. Just even be there, and no shoulding. Like, I'm always like, I didn't have the wherewithal during our battle. I was totally blindsided. But now I'm like, don't ever should a caregiver or a spouse or a mother of someone going through something like this, because until you've been in those shoes, you literally have no idea the battles that we fight internally. So, yeah. Yeah,
and I mean, even with the staff that is there, I mean, you can ask questions, you can challenge, you can push back, you can ask for any clinical data that you want. If they don't give you what you want, I mean, we were told that if we switched hospitals, we were not going to be allowed back to St. Louis Children's Hospital. They have since changed those protocols.
Wow.
They did not put on scrubs or masks or gloves or anything when they would come into our room, and we would be quarantined to the room for a month at a time. So I called 4 different meetings with the heads of every single department, just going through my list. And it shouldn't take what it took to get those protocols changed. And I'm proud of what I did. I'm not happy that I had to do and say what I did. But it changed protocols for anybody moving forward, so hopefully they don't have to do that. And the next time we landed ourselves back in, they were all suited up.
Amazing.
Every one of them.
Incredible.
And I thought, I don't know if this is going to prevent all of the, viruses and everything that's going through here, but there's a note on every door, everything. Oh, this is going around. This is going around. You're going to catch this. Just maybe try to be a little cleaner. Just try to think about maybe taking something from one room to the next if we're quarantined.
Yes. I mean, it's exactly talking about these battles during COVID, a pandemic.
Yes. And so they were just taking them from one room to the next.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and it was lots of different things. I mean, we had issues with the allergy bans and not paying attention, medications being wrong. They were still doing file paper folders at that time, and then I think they finally moved into a larger EMR system, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it was 10 years ago. We watched the hospital double and almost triple in size, and so it's a very scary situation. But I think with anybody out there, I don't downplay counseling and somebody that you can talk to. And if you've tried those things, and I talk about it in the community, but you're just uncertain about who else can I talk to once I walk out of that office? Like, who else can help me get over this wall? Like, what does that look like? That's where I was. Like, I would be terrified to walk out of that counselor's office because I knew we were going back to the hospital and I was utterly alone.
Yes.
And so the community, I really wanted people to feel as though there is somewhere safe for you. You can be here as little or as long as you want. Take advantage of it. We do one call every week for 90 minutes. The small groups are going to be really, really drilled down to what do you need. Like really, really getting people in alignment and through whatever they're going through. And I want to meet them where they are. And it's been, people have just started coming out of the woodwork.
Oh, good.
But like your story is really important. And I think it helps us heal. And I think each time we say it, we recognize something different and evolve and change. And it's really important to go through those stages because I think you miss such an important part of your journey if you don't go through that. And people would ask me, why are you writing a book? You're so busy. And I said, I don't know, but I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't function. There's something happening. And I mean, I think honestly, writing the book was one of the only reasons that I'm still here. I had 2 suicide attempts. I mean,
bless your heart.
Things were just tough. But you look at suicide rates now, you look at what is happening with people. We need more joy. We need more hope. We need more support. And we just need something different, just kind of turn the tables and make it something different for people that are just not getting, what they need.
Absolutely. And it's, I talk about, we can all work, by ourselves, but we're better together. We can move mountains together. And like you said, sharing our stories and being vulnerable, we may have different aspects and different goals, avenues we want to take, but together we're going to make a change.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Whether it's your daughter, your brother, your mom, your dad, your husband, whoever's diagnosed, or yourself. So yeah, I just think, wow, what an amazing woman you are, and difference you're making, and hopefully more and more people read your book and hear your story and fight for themselves. And that's something you said that was interesting, that got me thinking about how the doctors, the scientists are really focused on the cancer. They're focused on getting rid of the cancer, but there's this whole being and this whole family, and then their family and their community that's suffering too. And it's not just the whole family gets cancer. So that what people would consider soft stuff is really important. And I remember being like, where is the community? What like I'm contacting cancer care community, and it's like, where are these people that are supposed to help? Like, how do I find a trauma-informed therapist that can help me through being a spouse of a terminal cancer patient?
Yes.
And for my children, what is there for my kids? And I had to do a lot of research and get on the ground and find that, because, I'm like, I'm going to make damn sure that we are supported and that my kids are going to be okay, because, it's a cancer. It's a family disease.
It is. And looking back through, I think, the 10 years that I went through, it it happens the way that it's supposed to. We all think, why did this happen to us? And why can't I move it, quicker? And why can't I get through this? There's an honest reason for everything. And I think if we really dig deep and look at it, it's beautiful. Yes, it's terrifying.
Yes.
But if life doesn't beat the crap out of you, I don't think you're doing it right.
Right.
I honestly don't. And I think I've believed that all my life with kind of what I've put as, and you're probably the same way, your goals and achievements and things that you really want to look at. But when I looked at this group, the 4 pillars, and I may have kind of mentioned them in different structures, but we're looking at that personal alignment and health and your relationship alignment and health. Because if 90% of the couples get separated, and then I hear 97 or 98% of couples get divorced when a child passes away.
Oh my God.
And so then you try to take the family to counseling, and then you try to figure it out, and then you don't know what to do. And so I found these different resources I now do poetry therapy. It's poetry healing.
Amazing.
And so I've been studying with this incredible woman, and she learned it from this gentleman on the West Coast. It helped her through massive, massive challenges in her life. And I remember going, oh, I don't think that's going to help me. It changed my life.
Wow.
And if you can't verbalize things well yet, this really helps you verbalize things and helps you dig deep and think about it in a different way. And actually, I did the poetry healing last week here for a women's retreat. And I was really scared because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I just had all the stares, and I'm like, okay, this is not, I don't know what I'm doing. It helped me so much, and I've seen so many great things. And then it was just like applause, and people loved it. And they're like, we've never witnessed something like that. So we're working with therapists now, and I've started connecting with them on just different ways to help the kids and the parents just verbalize things differently.
Yeah.
Of course, breath works or heart works, different ways to get things released. And honestly, it was probably the most powerful thing I've ever done was that very first breath works. But like different things to really get people to release those demons that they need to release, and then learn how to get healthy and start new behaviors, new patterns. But if we're not healthy from the inside out, we can't be healthy for anybody else. And then the relationship just takes a big old, run off the road.
The amount of stress and pressure already with life. That's the other part. Life is stressful.
It's still there.
Without the cancer.
Yeah, your job is still there. Everything's still there. The bills are still
bills
there.
Bills are still coming. Absolutely.
No one's bailing you out.
No.
No one's coming to give you, money saying,
no,
here you go.
I know, and it does send a lot of people into bankruptcy. Which is terrible.
Yeah, and we started a GoFundMe account within a couple of weeks, and we were able to raise, $38,000 within a very short period of time, because I ran dummy scripts on all the drugs that she was taking, and what are we going to do? And I couldn't even get over the cost. Couldn't get over the cost. So thinking about those families now in personal and relationships really, really need to focus, but also financial, alignment. Where are they and what do they need help with? What does that look like? I mean, your whole world is turned upside down, not by choice.
Right.
So you need some help figuring it out. And why not have numerous pairs of eyes and ears on your situation to bring so many different options versus sitting there and doing it alone.
Right, which is what most people do.
Yeah.
If they even have the wherewithal to do it.
And they don't know what they're feeling. They don't know who to turn to. But I really talk about this in the book, but on the podcast even more, of the people are there right when it happens. Just like anything. You get divorced or a death in the family. I mean, whatever happens, people are there, but then they leave.
Oh, yeah.
What happens when they leave? Well, I know what happened to us, and you probably remember those days of people were gone. And I remember I would pick up the phone and just pick up whatever, shoot them a text message. It's just like, I just need to feel alive. Like I'm going to crawl these walls, and I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. And I would hear, gosh, my situation isn't as bad as yours, so I don't want to burden you. And I felt like people were saying what they thought was going to be okay and felt good, but I was just going further and further into this kind of depression and isolation, and I don't want people to feel that way.
Yeah,
but it's hard because we're humans too, right? So if somebody tells
Absolutely.
us something, we, and especially I think women, we take that on our shoulders, and that's a burden, and we feel like we need to solve their problem, or we just take their burden on our shoulders for no reason. And it's kind of what we do as humans. We don't mean to. And then it kind of just causes some weird kind of, I don't know, uncomfortable, that's what I felt from people.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't know what to say or do, and they say the
don't.
wackiest things. And
Yeah.
I agree. It's just like having a baby. There's all this excitement and cards
Yeah.
and people and flowers and everything. And the initial diagnosis, and then once Kyle passed, luckily your daughter's still alive, and you guys are fighting so hard. But it's like, then there's silence.
There's silence.
And you're left there in the rubble, and the dust is settling, and you are alone.
Yeah.
And you're alone in this new life that you didn't choose.
Right. Nope. And you can't change it.
You can't change it.
You can change ourselves, like you said.
Yes.
That's the only thing that we can control is our perspective.
Correct.
And looking through things with a different lens. And if you don't have that tribe, I always say, if you don't have your accountability crew, you need to get one quick. And I love creating this amazing accountability crew that's just there with these loving arms and joy. And I'm giving up so much of my time, energy, money. I'm not making, much at all, but I want to get up in the morning.
Absolutely.
I wanted this, and I think I'm healing from everything being created.
Absolutely. It's the whole turning pain into purpose. And I believe that, I believe in God, and I believe He's been there the whole time. And, we're all brought to this earth to make a difference, right? I believe we're all here to contribute positively to our society and our world, and create more harmony around everybody. And for whatever reason, we were pegged with, the ugly cancer
Absolutely.
paintbrush. And so it is an opportunity for us to turn that pain into purpose and to help others and let people know they're not alone. And we are going to continue to fight. We're going to fight for your daughter. We're going to fight for, in my husband's name, for our children and their children and their children. The best is yet to come. And if you believe that, I think, mentally, if we can all get there and focus on the positive and keep pushing, keep asking questions, the real change will happen.
It will. It really will.
Yeah.
But I always want everyone to know if you're just trying to push those conversations on certain people and it's not happening, it's okay.
Absolutely.
You just need to pivot and find those other individuals who are really going to dig deep and be there for you. And it's okay
Absolutely.
for those that just can't mentally, physically, emotionally handle those kinds of conversations. That's okay. And it was one of the biggest aha moments that I ever realized going through this. Because I just wanted my family to understand, and not one of them did. Not one.
They could never.
They just couldn't do it. And that was what hurt me for a long time. And I think first and foremost, I want people to know that is okay. They are going through their own stuff. And you don't want to take advice from someone who can't handle it. You really want to find those people that have those wonderful resources and the great things for you to kind of figure out. So it's a big mind shift.
Absolutely.
It really is, because we want that person that we want to understand. We want to make them understand. And the more you try, it doesn't work. And I went down that road so hard with family and finally realized it's okay.
Yeah.
Let's just create it. And what does that look like?
Absolutely.
So
Amazing.
it sounds like you found some of those people as well. Did they come out of the woodwork, or where did you kind of find those individuals that you're like, okay, I can open up and share with?
So 2 of my best friends beat cancer. One beat stage 3 colorectal cancer at 31. It's crazy because she was diagnosed at 31. She ended up having a week of radiation and then 12 rounds of chemo. And I was there as much as I could you know, I was pregnant with, I don't know, probably my second child. I didn't even know I had my kids so quickly. It's all a blur. Truly, the last 8, 9, 10 years is a blur. But so she beat it. Wow. She just had her baby via surrogate this last November. She's actually on tonight with me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, on a show tonight to talk about her, what she's done. But she was my first call in the ER when they found Kyle's cancer. And then another good friend of mine also beat lymphoma. She was in her early 30s, same thing. And both of those people I found here in St. Louis once I moved here. And then, you know, of course, my close friends from home. And my parents really stepped up there in Omaha, and they would come down as much as they possibly could. Both of them are attorneys, but just to come be a support. And that's truly what I always wanted, and still to this day, like, just my people to come be there.
Yes.
Just be there. We don't have to plan anything or do anything. You don't even have to say anything, but just be there, because there were so many times where I was alone and felt alone. And now even parenting solo, it's lonely, you know, and every bit of childcare I have, I pay for, you know, because it's just me. We don't have any family here. So I did have some people really step up and help, for sure. And then my husband's oncologist. That whole team at Siteman was amazing, and I still work with them very closely, because I'm hoping to help them move the needle with awareness and more funds. Because a lot of times doctors, they go to school to be a scientist.
Oh yes.
And now they have to go, and people joke that they're grant appliers or whatever they say, and I'm like, it's not funny.
Yeah.
Like, they have to travel around, instead of in the labs studying new treatments, they're traveling around trying to get people to give them money so they continue their research. That blows my mind, you know? So I'm hoping to be at least one voice helping to bring in, you know, more funds, because there is a lot of money out there.
Yeah.
So if we can refocus that into cancer research, we will make a difference. Yeah, that's kept me going through those tough times and tough days and tough weeks and tough months, because there are some.
They are, and I think, to your point too, I mean, people need to try everything, and they need to get second opinions and third opinions, and they need to really just open their mind. And I know that is really scary at those times. I was, and I am like this in life. I'm urgency. I don't want to just take somebody's word for it. I'm going to check out every option. And my husband always goes, why do you do this to yourself? Like, you just do this to yourself. Absolutely, 100% take full responsibility. But if I don't know all of my options, and I think that was gearing me up, you know, 10 years ago even, to put me in this place now, because I think there are wonderful, you know, organizations out there that really do need more money for the cancer research. And I think now that we're moving into this kind of new functional medicine alternative side to it as well, we need those worlds to marry.
Absolutely.
So tomorrow morning my adult nurse practitioner, who actually saved my life when I got just a deadly staph infection through my sinuses, and then it went through my bloodstream.
Oh my goodness.
And she's going to be on my podcast tomorrow morning. We usually do a live one on Monday mornings for Advocacy and Hope. I do a free Friday kind of Q&A about the group and the community on Fridays. And she's like, all I have is Fridays. I'm like, let's pivot, let's have you. So she's going to be on tomorrow, really talking about what she's been doing, and the body being able to heal itself if you give it, you know, nutrition and light. And, you know, she goes through just what it does. I mean, I remember in my ENT office, and he's like, I can't help you. He was the second one. Infectious disease doctor. He's like, I can't help you.
Wow.
We're going to put you in the hospital, put a PICC line in you, just literally just blast you full of all of these antibiotics that you are already resistant to, and hope for the best.
And just cross our fingers. Yeah.
And I remember my husband saying, I found somebody that I think you should meet. And it was ozone treatments and infusions. And I thought, what do I have to lose?
Why not? Exactly.
And he's like, it doesn't come with 10,000 pages of safety issues, and it doesn't say that you could die if they do it to you. He's like, you need to try this. And he's like, I just fear I'm not going to get you back if you go into that hospital.
Yeah.
And, you know, my daughter was still very sick, and I thought, you know, why not? So I tried it. 6 months later, I tested 3 times because I just kept testing. I'm like, could it be true? And I was negative for staph. You don't get rid of staph. It lays dormant in your body all your life, and it will rear its ugly head and come back if it doesn't then kill you. And I remember my ENT saying, well, that's voodoo. And I said, well, you can call it what you'd like, but here's some information, and it worked. And the ENT, he was fine, but the functional or the infectious disease doctor was like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Amazing.
And so I think that people really need to find what works for them.
Yes.
And Pat Bauer is her name, who I'll have tomorrow morning. And I remember her mentioning, she said, Amy, if everything goes right, we need to just, put our forces together and marry these worlds.
Absolutely.
It's what we really, really need to help more people.
Totally. And that's funny because my guest tonight, Joanna Hayden, did that. She did all the infusions, all the vitamins, and her oncologist, Dr. Tan out of Siteman, was like, my girlfriend, Joanna, continued to teach spinning throughout her entire treatment.
Oh, I can see it. I had more energy than I had ever had in my entire life.
And she's going after 5 years, no cancer.
Yeah.
So I totally believe in that. My husband was a nervous Nelly. He didn't want to go that route, really. His sister was a medical doctor, and I tried juicing and doing all these things at first, and they're like, oh, Kira.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the hospital, it's just junk. They're eating crap and soda and all these things that are cancer causing. And I'm like, why are we doing this? But I had to, keep my mouth shut to a certain extent. But the whole time I'm just like, shouldn't we be fueling the good cells and not the bad cells?
Yep.
So yeah, this is truly amazing. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
To do this.
So Out of the Gray into the Light is the book. What's your podcast called again?
Advocacy and Hope. Because this is a mother's memoir of advocacy and hope, and that's where it stemmed from.
Yes. And one other thing I wanted to say, just remember this. For those of you that are listening, if you currently are diagnosed or a family member diagnosed, my suggestion would be to find somebody who is advocating in that disease, right? Reach out to Amy, reach out to myself, find somebody, Google it. Because if you can find someone who's been through it.
Yes.
And I did that. I found a bunch of widows and said, what did you do? People were telling me about going all over the country, different doctors. And I was like, okay, I need to be doing more.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. Like family members have no idea if they haven't been through it. So they're not going to give you the answers because they don't have the experience.
Yeah. And there's great groups. Like I found ours on Facebook. It's for FAP. Like I said, it's not studied. It's a very, very small, genetic gene, but it does. I mean, the mortality rate is really high, but it's not studied. So I agree with you. Find people, reach out.
Yes.
I can connect people with just about anybody they want to know. And if I don't know them, I will literally reach out to them until they say, please stop bothering me.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say, I just needed to speak with you.
Yeah.
We just need to advocate. And I guarantee you we'll move mountains if we can do things like that.
I love that. Amazing. Okay, now where can they find your podcast? Where are you?
So we stream it live on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
So they can find it at Amy Dawn Post.
Okay.
And then we put it on all of the other platforms. They can find it on YouTube as well as Spotify. And like I said, it's live, 10 a.m. Monday morning Central Standard Time. And absolutely have just had a blast doing it and hearing people's inspirational stories. Anybody that wants to listen and just be inspired and know that they're not alone before they take any other step, they can definitely do that. Yeah.
Amazing. And then where do we find your book?
It's on Amazon, at Target, all the major retailers. Simon & Schuster is the one that's launching it. But yeah, Amazon is the best place to find it. And I would love anybody just to read it and reach out to me and tell me their story and ask me to pray for them.
Absolutely.
Anything, I will be there. It's what I needed, and I just want to give back.
I love that. And what's your daughter's name?
Madison.
Madison, because I was thinking I'd want to get her name to add her to my prayer list as well.
Thank you. And we're doing a Make-A-Wish event next Thursday.
Okay.
Huge Make-A-Wish event. It's brand new actually for St. Louis. So it's a casino night. It's at Sunset Hills. We have lots of, prior blues players.
Oh, fun.
Celebrities. It'll be super fun. But Madison and another little girl are being featured. And I actually met them here when Joanna, the owner of Adventure Unknown said, hey, you mentioned Make-A-Wish. It's just near and dear to your heart. I know you want to get involved more. We have a group. That's how I met this woman who has a daughter that was exactly my daughter's age. We were in St. Louis Children's at the same time. Then she went to another facility for her rare cancer. But they are both being featured at the event as superheroes. So I can't wait to see what these kinds of things do for these girls and these young kids that they do have diagnoses that are really, really awful, but they can do amazing things because their scars are just beautiful. It tells their story.
Yeah, and just to let them know we have there's a whole community behind them, you know, rooting for them and wanting to carry them.
Because they can't fit in. They stand out in such an amazing way, and that's what I told my daughter when she's wanted to fit in for so many years. And I said, it's just not possible. You're just this shining, beautiful light that is going to do other things than just fit in or stand behind, you know, the shadows.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, she's excited.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, so if anybody, you know, wants to join in, we're going to have a blast next Thursday.
I love it. I want to come.
We still have places available. I've been taking donations, so it'll be great. We're trying to give 10 wishes. So it's $100,000 that we're trying to raise.
Amazing. And all the info will be at the bottom of where this is posted in the description so people can donate. And get all your resources and all your things.
Yeah, and I have it on my Facebook page where we just keep the feed going for the event for anybody that wants to just, it's on their heart that they just want to be involved or attend.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
So nice to meet you.
I think it was meant to be today.
No question.